Welcome back, everyone. We are doing another super fun episode of Indie Reads Aloud. Today, Samantha Bryant is here, and you guys grab your cape because this is Superhero Day on the Indie Reads Aloud podcast. Samantha is from North Carolina, which is super exciting. I love meeting people in new places. And you wrote this wacky series called the Menopausal Superhero series. So I'm really, really intrigued about where you got the idea to turn what so many women deem as an albatross into this superhero idea. How did you figure out you were going to do that?
So for me, this started because I've been a lifetime fan of superheroes, like starting with Spidey on the Electric Company before I could even read, right?
Okay.
Um, but as I got older, I found it more difficult to connect with superhero characters who were like 13 years old, 15 years old. Their biggest worry is whether what this is going to do to their social life, or if they're
Right.
gonna get in trouble with their math teacher or something. It just didn't play for me the same way. And I was starting to go through perimenopause. For me, it's been a 10-year journey so far, and I am not out the other side yet.
Oh, well, congratulations for your stamina.
Thank you. But I was talking with my husband, and I made a joke that, like, in the X-Men movies, everybody's a teenager, and it seems like basically your superhero powers come with puberty.
Mm,
Like hormones trigger it. And I
right.
was like, well, if that's the case, then menopausal women should have the corner on that market.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he
No
thought that was
question.
funny,
Yeah.
and he told me to write it down, and I started playing with it, and then I found there was a lot more there than I expected, that it wasn't just a little joke. It made great story fodder, and I let me explore issues of aging and female friendship and life in the workforce when you're balancing lots of things
And
on
you
the
get to do it all with this wonderful sprinkle of humor.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Humor is what
That's
gets us all through it, I think.
well, absolutely. And that's super, super fun. I remember when I went through menopause, I actually didn't because I had to have a hysterectomy.
Hmm.
And my doctor said, okay, you skip menopause. Aren't you lucky? And I went, but wait, I wanted the hot flashes because I'm always cold. And she said, no, sorry, that's not fair. Women my whole life have been telling me about these hot flashes, and I've been lusting after these hot flashes, and now I don't get them. Not fair. So,
Well, I didn't find them very much fun.
like I say, I'm always cold. So I was
Right,
looking
yeah.
forward to it. It was kind of a letdown. It was like, not
It's
as
been fun at our house.
advertised, you guys.
My youngest kid is always cold, and currently I'm always warm. So we have the heating and air conditioning wars at our house.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yep.
Yeah. So, how long have you been writing?
I've written my whole life, but I've only started taking it seriously and like finishing things and working on getting published when I turned 42. So for me, oh gosh, that's been 12 years. That's terrible.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you. When I turned 42, Douglas Adams in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy says 42 is the meaning of life, the
Yep. Yep.
universe, and everything.
And everything. Yes.
And everything. So I just took that as my cue that this was my moment. If I was ever really going to be a writer, I needed to stop playing around. I needed to focus, and I needed to make a go at it.
I love that an author gave you your benchmark.
Right?
I just think that's fantastic. How much fun is that? That's great. I'm super excited to hear you read the passage from this book. I read the synopsis and I just giggled and went, okay, this is just going to be a fun ride. Can you set up the story for us a little bit before we get into the reading, please?
Hmm. So I'm going to be reading from the first novel, which is called Going Through the Change. And this is what you might expect in a superhero series. It's kind of the origin stories, right? This is the book in which everybody gets their powers and has to learn to deal with that and adjust their lives accordingly. And then, we continue in adventures in the following books.
What fun. Oh my
So
gosh.
the
I'm
chapter I'm going to
so
read
excited
is
for this.
good. Hey. The chapter I'm going to read is called Helen Plays with Fire. And Helen is there are four main characters who all have different menopausal complaints which then turn into different abilities or problems for
Mhm.
them. And in what we call hand wavium, where the science doesn't really matter because this is superhero fiction.
Okay, I'm so in love with that term. I'm stealing it and I'm going to use it everywhere. Yes, I love that.
So I have a mad science character who has been developing products to treat menopausal symptoms because that's one of her passions is helping older women get through this transition. And some of them have some unexpected side effects, super heroic side effects. And that's how the women in the book get their powers.
That's going to be so much fun. I'm super excited to hear some of this. This is going to be great. Oh my gosh. Okay, when you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
So from going through the change, Helen plays with fire. I think the only background you need to know here is that Helen is a somewhat bitter divorcee with a grown daughter she's had an estranged relationship with, and she's currently living with her daughter because she accidentally burnt down her apartment a few chapters ago. Okay. Helen tossed off the covers. She couldn't sleep. It had been only a few hours since Cindy had dropped her off after yet another all night session testing the limits of her abilities, tipsy on wine and drunk on power. She had stumbled to the bedroom, thrown away her burnt up clothes, and flopped into bed. She fell into sleep like a diver into a pool. She hadn't expected to resurface again so soon. She checked the bedside clock. 4:30 a.m. Too late to be called night and too early to be called morning, but her eyelids were up and she shook with a restless energy. She knew this feeling. It was excitement. The round of experiments with Cindy last night had shown her what she could do, and she wanted to do more. It had been a long time since her limits had been stretched, since the world had seemed new and exciting. What a rush! It was like being in love. She sat on the edge of the bed for a moment, then padded to the closet and pulled on a long t-shirt. It had been her husband's and had proved more durable than he had. She wondered if it were possible to buy fireproof clothing. Moving quietly through the apartment, she made her way to the kitchen and the patio doors at the back. She stepped through into the patch of grass that had sufficed as a yard for Mary's barbecue party a week or so ago. Helen looked around. The windows of the two apartments above Mary's overlooked the yard, but they were dark. The back of the yard was bordered by some kind of industrial strength hedges, probably to protect the homeowners behind from having to see the seedy little apartment dwellers smoking their cigarettes and drinking their beer. Helen willed a ball of fire into her hand and made it roll. She tossed it from one hand to the other, rolling it across her arms and laughing. She balanced it on one finger like Wilt Chamberlain and made it spin, first one direction, then another. She made a second and a third ball and tried to juggle them. Whenever she dropped one in the grass, she stomped out the small fire with her bare foot and made a replacement. When she tired of fire juggling, she decided to try other shapes. She made a sort of spear, a long, thin flame. She bent it around itself until it was a ring. She spun it in the air and then around one wrist like it was a hula hoop. She thought about spinning it around her waist, but she knew the shirt would never survive it. She didn't want to end up naked in her daughter's backyard. Oh, this was fun. She hadn't had this kind of fun in years. She lined up a couple of cans and soda bottles in various parts of the yard and making her finger into a gun, shot them with a blast of fire, leaving smoking piles of melted tin can and broken glass. She was trying to decide what to do next when she froze, stopped by a small squeak. The sliding door squeaked in its track. Helen turned, just in time to see her wide-eyed daughter poking her head out the small opening she had made. Her voice sounded almost childlike, like she was afraid. Mom? It was a truth of life that as a woman aged, Helen thought, people tended to treat her more and more like a child. Sales clerks called older women honey, just like they might a child. Senior food and movie tickets were sold at a reduced price, just like a child's. Discounts and nicknames weren't so bad in the scheme of things, but the assumption of incompetence was hard to take. Helen wasn't sure when she had crossed that line, that magic age that made people treat her like she was old. But she had. It was especially hard to take from Mary. Even when her daughter's advice was good, it still galled Helen to take it. After all, she was the one with the life experience here. Her daughter ought to be listening to her wisdom. But as Helen had gotten older, she had often thought the roles were reversing between herself and her daughter. It was Mary who was always trying to tell her how to live her life instead of the other way around. It was Mary who wanted to know where she was and what she was up to, like it was her job to keep tabs on her mother. It was Mary who Helen had to explain herself to. Sometimes it was annoying. This morning, though, was different. Now Mary, in the role of mother, was watching as she, in the role of child, said again and again, "Look what I can do!" And she could do amazing things. She demonstrated again all the forms she could make the fire take. She showed her the way she was impervious to harm from fire or smoke, clapping out flames in her hands and stomping them out with her bare feet. Mary's face showed a complicated combination of emotions from fear to excitement and back around with a bit of worry and disbelief thrown in. But how is this happening? How can this even be possible? Mary asked. Helen considered. Should she tell her daughter about Dr. Lou and the pills? She looked at her daughter. Mary was an open-minded person in a lot of ways, but she was also very sure of what was right and wrong. But still, if she didn't tell Mary, who was she going to tell? It was all so amazing and exciting. Truthfully, she was dying to tell. So you remember those pills you got for me? And that's where the chapter ends.
Okay, that's so not fair. You left us on a cliffhanger. That's so not fair.
Oh, but that's how this works, right? So that you want to read
Oh,
the rest.
yes, I know. Um, I while you were reading, I added you to my TBR because this just sounds like
Excellent.
so much fun. Super fun. Now in the I'm reading the synopsis on my other screen here,
Hmm.
and you have one character who can now play with fire.
Hmm.
We just discovered Helen and the terrific fun she's having.
Yes.
You have another character who is bulletproof,
Hmm.
another character who is lighter than air,
Hmm.
and another character who you haven't specifically explained, but they don't have problems opening jars anymore. So
Right.
we'll just go with that. That's super fun. Out of these four women that you have concocted and attributed them with superheroes aspects and abilities, which of the four superhero abilities would you want?
Oh. Um, so Linda ends up with being very, very strong. And here of late, as arthritis is making things harder for me, and I feel like I'm losing strength,
Mm.
I think that's a very attractive thing, very strong. So today I think I would pick that one. I don't think I should have the ability to wield fire. I think I would regret some of the choices we make in the moment.
Yeah, me probably me too. Yeah.
And hopefully bulletproof is never going to matter to my life. Hopefully I have no need to be
Yeah,
bulletproof.
yeah, let's not put that on the need list. Is there another superhero quality that's not in this book that you might want for yourself?
I've always thought it would be very helpful to be able to manipulate time
Yeah,
because you
yeah, I like that.
know, as a mom with a career and a house and rescue dogs and all kinds of things in my life, there's never enough time and certain times are going too fast and other
So
times are going too
here's the
slow.
question. Here's the question though. In going with this superhero premise that you're establishing, if you could manipulate time, would you backtrack and not go through menopause?
Hmm. When I hear about time travel stories, I'm never one who's interested in the go back and undo things because I feel like there is no way for you to know what the new ramifications are.
Right.
And going through whatever you've gone through has made you who you are now. And so, do you want to undo that? Do you want to give away that resilience, those new skills, whatever it is that your troubles made you
Yeah.
develop?
Good
And
answer.
no, I don't want to give them up.
Good answer. I like that answer. Um, okay, you have 8 books in set in this universe. Some of them are novels, some of them are short, and some of them are novellas.
Yes,
That's a lot in your canon, and it's a
it
big
is.
catalog to go through. So here's my last question. Do you have a particular sidekick character in this series universe that you could see being best friends with?
Oh, yes, definitely. So, Patricia, who becomes the Lizard Woman of Springfield, she's the one with bulletproof flesh. Early on in the series, she meets a younger woman named Susie, who comes in as an intern because in her non-superhero life, she's a vice president of marketing at a big company, right? So she gets
Okay.
an intern. And Susie ends up being just so capable and so able to organize and make things work and all kinds of things. And throughout the series, she becomes enmeshed in superhero life. And I love Susie because she's so capable while being just human. And she doesn't take guff from anybody.
Nice.
And she's a tiny little blonde that people would tend to kind of be like, oh, she's just cute. And she really has learned to weaponize the way people underestimate her.
Oh, I like that.
So it's like
Yeah.
underestimate me at your peril.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, she's that kind of gal. So I would hang out with Susie for
What
sure.
what does she show up in book 1 or does she show up later in the series?
She was introduced in book one,
Awesome.
and she has bigger and smaller roles depending on which book we're talking about, but she's there for the whole series.
So much fun. Okay, now I get to read and look for her and enjoy. I love learning about the dimensions of an author's writing because then I get to go in and dig deeper into story. So that's why I was asking that because some of
Yeah.
my sidekick characters are some of my favorite.
Oh, yes, such fun.
I am so pleased that you came on the program today and read for me. I tell everybody all the time I'm a recovering 6-year-old, and I just love it when people read to me. So thank you so much for making my day today. I'm going to pick up your book, and I hope you'll come back and read the other 7.
Oh, I'd love to.
I would love to have you back on the program if you're willing to, go
Mhm.
through the gauntlet yet again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd love it.
Perfect. All right. So until you come back, then have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll chat again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.